Hi, my name is Dan and I'm a master gardener, and welcome back to my garden. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about what to do after you have your transplants in the ground. How often do you water them? How often should you fertilize them? And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the tips and techniques I use to make sure my plants get the attention and care that they need to produce the most for me. So the first plant that we want to look at is some broccoli that I have. And if you look at the leaves, they're kind of drooping over, they're flopping, they're not very crisp. That's showing me that this plant has a sign of stress. It could either be heat or it could need some additional water. So something like this, I would go ahead and water right now. These ones aren't very stiff. The leaf should be like that, and it's drooping like this. That tells me that it's hot. It needs some more moisture. If I go down here underneath and I start digging in that soil, that's pretty dry. So that's telling me that that needs a little more moisture. If I dig down, it should be nice and moist and damp. As the plants get bigger, their leaves will produce shade and keep it a little more moist. When the plants are younger, you're going to have to water them more often. So something like this plant, this size, is probably 3 times a week, depending on how it looks. And a plant this size that I just put in a couple of days ago, this is going to have to be watered almost daily in order for it to really grow and develop its roots. You see it's nice and dry there. I want to get that a little more moist. So watering, you can use any technique that you want for watering. I have a drip irrigation that I use, but I also like to water by hand, and this is a nice stainless steel watering jar. I've used the plastic ones before, but if you garden for multiple years, you find that the plastic ones tend to get holes in them. This one, as long as I take care of it, will last about 30 years or so, if not longer. And when I'm watering, I want to make sure I get all around the entire plant and saturate it. One good test to do after you watered, dig down past the surface, and if it's wet, you're good. If it's dry underneath, it probably needs a little more water. So that one's looking pretty good. I have 4 more plants that look pretty good. If you look at the leaves of this pepper, they're really not overturned, they're not drooping and sagging, they're nice and stiff. That's showing me that that plant's adequately moisture. So if I dig down, I'm finding that soil is still nice and wet underneath there, which is where the roots are nice and deep. So it has the moisture it needs. I probably wouldn't give it extra moisture. Peppers are used to being dry. They're used to being hot. Once it starts drooping, you know it needs some additional moisture. Well, now we're going to talk a little bit about fertilizing. How often should you do it? What type of fertilizers do I use? What type of fertilizers should you use? What I typically use in my garden is the biofish. The thing I like about the biofish, it has a lot of the different minerals that your plants need in order for them to grow healthy and strong. And those minerals, when you eat those plants, will get absorbed in your body. And if you get them through the plants, they're more readily absorbed into your body versus taking vitamins or supplements that way. So it's good to make sure your plants have all the vitamins and minerals they need, and biofish is something that will have those vitamins and minerals. For your blueberry and acid-loving plants, I do buy this acid mix, and it tends to work really well for my blueberry bushes to give them nice, good berries and a lot of growth. And then the last fertilizer that I tend to use is, this is the least expensive fertilizer. It's a composted chicken manure. This will put on good growth, but what I found, it doesn't tend to last as long. So if I fertilize with this, the plants will really grow in the first couple of days. Then after that, they tend to stunt their growth until I apply more. So they like to have this constantly, where the biofish is a little bit slower. So I'll usually mix both as I'm going through the growing season, give the plants a little bit of each. And one of the best ways to do that I found is with the mason jar. So I usually get a nice big mason jar with a nice big mouth, and then I can walk through my garden or I can walk down the line and just shake it out. It's okay to cover the leaves as long as you go back and water them off again. On the larger plants, I'll just shake a little bit around the edge. And then as far as how often, what I like to do is I like to check my garden every day. So I'll come out here at least once a day, walk through here and see how the plants are responding to this fertilizer. And usually I'll see 2 to 3 days after I put the fertilizer on a significant amount of growth in the plant. So I'll see a big difference in how much they've grown. And usually once that growth stops to or starts slowing down is when I'll fertilize again. And the last part of that is you want to go ahead and irrigate that in, but not irrigate too much. You don't want to put so much water on there that all the fertilizer will disappear into the ground. You want the fertilizer to stay on the surface and near the roots, so I do a light watering on top of that to make sure that fertilizer can get into the roots and be used by the plant. And that's pretty much it. Thanks again, guys. Take care.